It is week 10 of the NFL season, and we are officially in make or break mode. Whether you won this week, whether you lost this week, you got to pick yourself up off the turf, or you got to capitalize on your momentum, and you need to take advantage of the potential diamonds in the rough. Is that what we'd call it on the waiver wire this week? Because this is gross. Because on today's episode of the Regression to the Mean podcast, we have 15 players. Somehow we made it to 15 on the week 10 waiver wire that will make your fantasy team better. Like I highlighted at the top, it's make or break season. It's kind of the best season in all of fantasy football. It's what you do it for. I'm your host, Shaun Moran. I'm joined by my co-host, my good friend, my fellow knower of ball, Aidan Holler. Aidan, I'm proud of you for making it to today's recording. There was talk that you might need to take a sick day, a little PTO, but you showed up to work.
Yeah.
You're here. How are you doing today, man?
Yeah. So we'll start on the bright side. Pretty light injury week. We didn't lose many stars, and there's some big dogs on the way back. So we're going to get to that in a minute. On a negative note, the 2024 Chicago Bears are dead. It went from 10 out of 10 to 0 out of 10 vibes in like 9 days. It was pretty phenomenal. So I'm a broken man. Matt Eberflus has ruined my life like I knew he would this year. So that's what you get for keeping a lame duck head coach and drafting a QB with him anyway. So we're doing the same cycle that we did with Mitch and Fields. I'm looking forward to it with another wasted rookie season.
I don't think it's all bad. I know
it's all bad. Caleb's
I get to have
now.
a more measured approach here. I will say Caleb is doing some things that you don't love to see rookie QBs do, but at the same time, they're asking him to do a lot. He's making a ton of checks at the line of scrimmage. He's clearly showing off his traits, whether it be out-of-pocket mobility, arm talent. Like, it's all there. He's put together one good stretch. I bet you he puts together another good stretch at the end of the season. You're going to have to nail the head coach, though, because that's the thing I'd be worried about is can this leadership group, can this ownership group nail the head coach? Because they
won't.
When was the last good head coach you've had?
Lovie Smith.
Tressel?
Lovie
Smith?
Yeah, they fired him at 10-6, and it's been an absolute clown show since then. Like, Matt Nagy looks like an A+ coach compared to Matt Eberflus. It's like this guy has no idea what he's doing right now.
Yeah, Matt Nagy actually seemed like he had the head coaching job thing down. He just couldn't. His offense just.
Mitch might have just not been that good too. So that
his plan with Fields was brutal though. That was rough. And then Flus looks like he's got the defensive coordinator thing down, but he's just not a head coach.
No, he's definitely not a head coach.
That's what it seems like. But hey, Ben Johnson.
They're not going to pay him.
Running from the grind.
No, I'm gonna get like Cliff at best or like fucking Joe Brady.
My goodness, you're totally gonna get Cliff Kingsbury. Oh,
I'm gonna get like
it's happening.
Yeah,
Cliff's gonna reunite with Caleb. They're gonna reunite with Caleb.
It wouldn't be the end of the world. It wouldn't be the end of the world.
Well, I mean, I know this is a waiver wire show, and this is turning into the third hour of Chicago Bears talk radio. But yeah, I actually kind of like that. We'll get to that in the off season.
Moving on, how was your Sunday with your guys on bye? Stress-free Sunday from you. Being on bye is the best. It's
the best. Oh, it's so much fun just watching the NFL. It's like the Rob Lowe NFL hat wearer. It was so much fun.
It's great.
They're out of the mix. They're out of the mix for a week. I don't care. I don't get to be disappointed. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a great time. I was bouncing around, watching a ton of games. I watched way too much of that Panthers Saints game than I care to admit. As a cokehead, I had to partake and watch, and so I've got some thoughts on the Panthers. And I did get to see Taysom up front, so I've got some thoughts on Taysom Hill for this episode today. But yeah, I mean, Dolphins, Bills. That's why you watch football. Seahawks, awesome. Rams. That's why we do it, man. The JSN breakout. I'm a Niner fan, so I'm legally not allowed to like the Seahawks, but it was so sweet watching JSN cook. And we've been talking about it on the rankings episode for like a month. Like, when is this going to happen? There's so many big plays that have just missed. And like regression hit him like a fucking freight train all in 1 week. It was like,
It
oh my
still
goodness.
didn't even fully regress too, like we were just talking about before the show. It's like there was a lot left on the bone too. So it's
70 yards called back in penalties, and Geno could have thrown like multiple touchdowns to him beyond just the 2 he had. It was weird game for Geno Smith. I think I wax and wane between is he good or is he bad. I think he's good. His O-line's terrible. Like I don't really think it's his fault.
He's fine. He's like QB
Great
10
arm.
to 15, and that's totally cool. Like
great arm.
Geno is what he is. Yeah.
He lets it rip, which I appreciate. But then you get to see some really bonehead throws occasionally. But you know, it is what it is. But yeah, great Sunday of action. You nailed it. Not a ton of injuries, not a ton of heartbreak.
That was nice.
If you are new to our waiver wire episode and you're like, why are these guys going on and on during the intro? Don't worry. These episodes time stamped. So if you want to skip ahead, feel free to do so. We want to make these waiver wire ads as catered to your needs as possible. But our waiver wire episode is very simple. We go through and start through some of the biggest injury updates around the NFL. We are recording this Monday at 3:20 Pacific Standard Time. Monday Night Football hasn't even happened yet, so that's just a context why maybe we don't have a Chief or Buck in here. And a lot of injury news seems to get dumped right when we record. So I'm waiting for
like 4 o'clock. We get a Niner injury up.
Yeah, always. It's gonna be great hearing that Deebo Samuel is not gonna play this week. I can't wait to hear that. But okay. Or the Nico Collins injury news is about to drop. You know it is at like 4 p.m. It's going to be brutal. But besides from that, after we go through the injury updates, we actually go through the waiver wire. We have our top 15 ads. We've got receivers, running backs, tight ends, quarterbacks. Pretty not consequential waiver wire this week, or at least that's what it feels like. And usually when I have that lean, big guys come off the waiver wire. Like usually when no one's looking, big guys come off the wire. So it's important. You got to stay diligent. We don't have a ton of fab consideration this week, considering that most of us are out of it anyways. We'll highlight a little bit of like where you should spend your fab or where you shouldn't, whether you should be aggressive or not. It's hard giving that recommendation based off of your league, right? Some leagues are super aggressive. Some are really risk averse. So we'll leave that up to you, but we'll kind of give you a lean on whether you should be aggressive or not. Before we dive into the injury updates, Aidan, I'm sure this is the first time someone's watched one of our waiver episodes. If they decided to click on the thumbnail, they get brought in for the first time, what should the people do at home?
Yeah, first of all, welcome to the program. Good to have you here, part of the mean team. All we ask is just kick back, enjoy the show. Probably 30, 40 minutes. You can spend as much or as little as you want. Like Shaun mentioned, it's time stamped. You can click around. You can see exactly who we want. You can, skip around. You can watch the whole thing. Me and Shaun are just going to talk. We're going to give you some stats. What they do last week. Why do we like them this week? Keep it pretty simple here. So sit back, enjoy the show. Like, comment, subscribe. Do whatever you'd like to do. But happy to have you here. And let's get into it, Shaun.
Let's get into it. So we're going to dive in first things first with some of the major injury updates around the NFL. We are pulling up Sleeper. We are big fans of Sleeper here. I'd say the biggest injury coming out is what happened with the Dallas Cowboys pass catchers here. With the Dallas Cowboys offense. We had 2 major pieces here with the Dallas Cowboys get injured in this one. Dak Prescott injures his hamstring. CeeDee Lamb injures his shoulder. They're saying this is a pretty significant hamstring strain. They've already ruled him out for week 10. Pretty big deal. I mean, this is like a 3-week injury, 4-week injury. We do this pretty often with hamstrings, Aidan. Before we get to your thoughts, CeeDee Lamb sounds like he's going to try and play in week 10 with an AC joint sprain. So the question is, Dak's out. CeeDee's going to play. What do we do here, man? Or is Dowdle still a play with Cooper Rush? Is CeeDee Lamb still a play with Cooper Rush? I mean, there's some decent stats that show that the offense is okay when Cooper Rush plays, but what are your thoughts here with these 2 injuries?
You gotta think we take a dip to some degree. I think just going back to Dak first, I wouldn't be surprised if he's almost done for the rest of the fantasy regular season. Like you said, this is going to be a couple of weeks. We're at week 10 here. Most fantasy regular seasons end after week 14. I wouldn't be surprised if Dak is out until the fantasy playoffs, which, again, not ideal. You're probably not starting him anyways, but definitely big implications on CeeDee Lamb. the volume the last couple of weeks have been fantastic. Just looking at the targets there, what is that? 9, 14, 17, 12. Just absolute target hog. As long as we just keep peppering him with Cooper Rush, like maybe the absolute like explosion spots are a little off the cards, but given his volume, I think he's probably okay. But I don't know. What's your read on the CeeDee Lamb status with Cooper Rush at QB?
So remember, Dak in 2022 misses weeks 2 through 6. I've got here on Sleeper. CeeDee Lamb weeks 2 through 6 with Cooper Rush, 15, 22, 21, 10, 12. This was
That's
with
fine.
Amari Cooper. This was with Amari Cooper too. And then remember this post by CeeDee baby. It's so hilarious. So he's fine. This is again. These are stats with Amari Cooper. And if you like pull this up here and what Amari Cooper was up to during this stretch in 2022, 25, 23, 1, 20, 14, 10. So he Cooper was taking a lot of target share here. So sure. I feel fine about CeeDee Lamb. Like maybe downgrade him. I don't know if you're going to be easily set it and forget it top 5 option, but he's a top 12 option with Cooper Rush in the fold. I would not be starting Cooper Rush in any leagues unless it's like a 2 QB format.
No,
unless it's 2 QBs.
That'd be freaking crazy, man.
This next one's really a bummer. Chris Olave with his 2nd concussion on the season.
He's done.
This is turning out to be one of the rougher picks in all of fantasy football. Olave getting an absolute hospital ball. Derek Carr threw 2. He almost killed Juwan Johnson as well. I don't know, man. This is brutal. This is brutal for Olave and Olave drafters and Olave fans. My guess is that Olave is probably done for the year. The Saints are, I guess, aggressive sellers right now at potentially the deadline. They have their bye week 12. I guess I wouldn't rule out him coming back in week 13, but we probably don't see him for a while. My guess.
This is 2 levels of concern. It's pretty bad. Yeah, no one's really been it's now getting talked about, I think, but the concussions he's taken in just his 3rd NFL season now, it's
4.
It's been pretty gruesome. So yeah, shame on Derek Carr. He absolutely fed him to the wolves on that one. I know he didn't do it on purpose, but like, what are you doing there? Like you've got to do better by your receivers. So yeah, don't be surprised if he's out for, but they got 2 games and then a bye. I doubt we see him before week 13. I can't imagine we're getting him back before that bye week.
We'll see if they do the IR stint. Because, technically, he probably only needs, 3 weeks. It's more of, an optics thing. I don't really want to do it.
It looks bad. It looks bad.
It just looks bad.
Keep trotting back out there and killing him the second he steps back on the field.
We're going to talk about Taysom. But, this is a pass catcher group that just is ravaged. I guess Mason Tipton's in play, but, I'm not going to recommend him on the show today.
Jesus.
A.J. Brown. Considered day-to-day with a knee injury. So we went from fears of an ACL tear to an MCL, ACL sprain. He's not going to miss significant time to day-to-day. This is just a weird report. The A.J. Brown is considered day-to-day after an MRI revealed no severe damage to his knee. Then why would he be day-to-day, though? The way this description is writing this up is that he's going to miss a couple weeks. The way that this headline and the way that this has been positioned is that he's going to play this week. I don't think he's going to play this week. If they're running an MRI, I don't know. Regardless, if he doesn't play, Devonta Smith is a top 8 play. That's for certain.
Yeah.
This offense is not as good when he doesn't play. I know I'm not breaking news here when I say that, but AJB is AJB's kind of the straw that stirs the drink. But it sounds like you avoided major pain if you have AJ Brown on your fantasy team. But I could be wrong. I don't think he's going to play this week, but we shall see against the Dallas Cowboys.
See what happens. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in practice. It's too soon to tell, but like you said. Huge plus we didn't lose him for an extended period.
Another day-to-day guy who left pretty early, Drake London. He is day-to-day with a hip pointer. From my understanding of hip injuries like this, it's pain tolerance and mobility. So I'm when I see hip injuries, I get nervous because hip injuries sap people of their athleticism. It's crazy what happens when you get a hip injury. They play New Orleans, who sucks. They've got their bye in week 12. I wouldn't be shocked if he plays this week, but I think he's probably going to sit out in week 10. What are your thoughts?
My gut tells me he plays for some reason.
Right.
I think the hit pointer is more manageable than the knee, or at least like maybe not the knee. In terms of like the reports we've gotten initially, is that I think Drake London could have came back in before AJ Brown could have came back in last week, which leads me to believe. What they have like identical. What's the Falcons' record right now? They're both kind of
6 wins.
Yeah, I was like, you technically don't need to rush either guy back. I know Philly's got 6. Yeah, I think Atlanta's got 5 or 6 wins off the top of my head.
Yeah, Philly's gonna really need him week 11 against Washington, and the Rams week 12, Baltimore week 13. Like they could beat Dallas without AJ Brown.
Yeah, I agree. So, but yeah, we'll see. It like you said, it's all about pain tolerance. Glad it's nothing more severe. So we'll see. Like he was on the bike, like riding in the second half, trying to shake it off. But I think it was just a precautionary thing to keep him out.
Keon Coleman exits this game with a wrist injury. Left the game, I guess, or the stadium in a cast, and he's getting additional testing on his wrist.
So cast is not good.
Or brace maybe. I don't know if it was a cast. Cast. I might have misspoke. Me and team. Cast implies that I think it was a brace. Yeah. I think it was a brace. I misspoke there. But he left the stadium in a brace. Left the game early, and he's undergoing an MRI today. That's
not great. Just
doesn't sound good.
He was trending up in a big way. Still had a pretty decent game. Had a touchdown left off the table there, but yeah, this is a guy that was starting to get like really involved in that passing attack. So keep an eye on this. I don't really have much more of a read. I actually didn't see the play itself. I kind of just saw the report as well.
Another promising rookie with a wrist injury or hand injury is Xavier Legette. He came back in after he hurt his wrist and hand, though. So he'll be sounds okay. Like he's fine.
Excel's going to be all right.
This guy's on the injury report every week.
Every week.
Every week. Okay, this one isn't necessarily a big update for your fantasy leagues unless you're a sicko, but Erick All, the tight end, the rookie tight end for the Bengals, retore the ACL that he was rehabbing. So he tore his ACL at the end last season and just tore the same knee again, which is a huge bummer for him. But the Bengals run a pretty heavy tight end rotation that has now gotten smaller. So
fire up Gesicki.
We're going to talk about Godsecki in a little bit, but that's just something to keep in mind here. So these aren't necessarily injuries that happened recently, but these are just some quick updates around the league. Christian McCaffrey looks like he's going to get activated, folks. Looks like it's happening.
We'll see.
We shall see. But it sounds like he's going to play this week. A guy who we thought was going to play this week, Nico Collins, who is eligible to return from IR against Detroit in a juicy matchup. The schedule for Nico is Detroit, Dallas, Tennessee, Jacksonville. Oh, baby.
I need it so bad.
This is huge for my Nico teams. Nico Collins is supposed to come back. There's been talk that he would be ready for this week. There'd be talk that there was talk that he's running at 20 miles per hour in terms of his sprints, but he did not get activated today. Other Texans did get activated off IR. This could be some gamesmanship. They're playing the Lions. But I'm starting to worry that he's not going to play this week.
Yeah, I wanted to see him get activated today. It would have been nice to see him get activated. I'm still optimistic as everything the last couple of weeks has been on track, green flags. And today was kind of the first speed bump in that one. So I'm still optimistic we're going to see him.
Again, today is just a walkthrough practice because they played on Thursday. So they don't really have to do anything until Wednesday. It's just weird they didn't open up his window. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree.
That I would have, hey, open up the window, not practice today. It's like, okay, that's, that is what it is. But not even opening up the window makes me a little nervous. DK Metcalf looks like there is optimism for the third straight week that he's expected to return. But it sounds like he will be good after the bye. So if you have DK Metcalf, it looks like he's going to come back week 11 after the bye. So
yeah, it looks like he's good to go, which is great news for that offense. It looked, the passing attack was good with JSN, but the two of them. Oh, John, here we are.
Jon Brooks
Here we
confirmed is going to play week 10 against the Giants. So
it's
if you've been
fitting that he's
holding
getting
him
activated in a 6
Germany.
a.m. Germany game too. It's like, just in case things don't go well, most of the country won't see it anyways. So it's just the Germans.
He's gonna get 4 handoffs by week, and then I think they're gonna give him a little run here. Week 12 to week 18, I think we're gonna see Jon Brooks.
I think so too.
So we'll see how this goes. This one's been going a little bit under the radar. There's talk of him being back in week 12, Isaiah Pacheco. I would not expect much production out of Isaiah Pacheco. These injuries, these fibula injuries, think of how bad Tony Pollard looked. Think of how slow Mark Andrews looked until basically this week. Tank Dell has not really looked like himself until pretty much this week, right? This is like the Chiefs are trying to win the Super Bowl and he looks good in December, January vibes. But I'm just saying, if you have Kareem Hunt, it might be worth trading him or at least seeing what you can get for him. Because if Pacheco comes back, I think Hunt's value is your bell cow just completely craters.
I also think it's worth noting too, if you're in a keeper league of any kind, depending on your keeper rules, if he's out there, like you could get Pacheco dirt cheap next year just by kind of stashing him through the rest of this year. So kind of a cheeky move, but for all your keeper leagues out there.
I think he's gonna. Yeah, I mean,
I think
you can get him
regardless.
But you can get him. Yeah, you can get him to play for you this year, which is
it's
huge.
next year that like you really want though.
Yeah,
I can't imagine he's going to be all that productive. Yeah, the Pollard, the Dell injuries, like we've seen it, but
Mark Andrews was moving in quicksand for half the year.
Yeah.
All right, you ready to do waivers?
Yeah, let's do it, bro.
But before we do waivers, just one quick thing. We got 4 bye weeks. So we've got the Browns out, got the Green Bay Packers, Las Vegas Raiders, Seattle Seahawks. So no K9, no JSN, no DK Metcalf, no Alexander Madison, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers. The Green Bay Packers are getting put on timeout after that stink fest in the rain they had. We're going to start things off here with the top waiver wire ad for the week. For the second time this season, he is headlining the show, and that is none other than Quentin Johnston, owned in 33% of fantasy leagues. QJ, what a revival! We brought him back from the dead, Aiden. It's kind of
he's so back. Let's go.
I spent way too much fab on him at the beginning of the year, and then dropped him in every league, and now he was used against me. That one hurt. I'm not gonna lie. QJ by the numbers in week 1. He had a 24% first read target share at his return to action, which led the Chargers. 5 targets, 4 catches, 100+ yards, and a touchdown. He remains dependent on big plays, but now that their offense has upped their pass rate, he's an interesting start moving forward. He's got matchups coming up versus the Titans, Bengals, and Ravens. I think there's plenty of potential boom-bust games coming from him. And with bye weeks and injuries, like he's kind of the dice roll I want in a lineup where it's like, hey, he might give me 6 points, he might give me 25. Like I kind of he gives you that variance. If you look at his PPR rank, 55, 10, 36, 75, 57, 7. He kind of gives you that boom bust potential that I enjoy, and he's got the per route numbers and the target percentage to like. Thoughts on QJ before we get to our next wide receiver?
Yeah, I think welcome back, QJ. Really impressive game. But I think the main thing to note here is this passing attack is kind of starting to come to life. Post bye. So just looking at like Justin Herbert's stats pre and post bye, they didn't throw for over 200 yards once since the bye. He's cleared over 250. 3 out of 4 games, was just under 250 the other game. It feels like this offense is starting to figure it out. Lad McConkey is starting to look better as well. QJ's starting to look better. They could even make a move for a wide receiver. So I think not only is QJ just starting to look better, but this passing attack, the volume's starting to ramp up. Like if we could get to like 30 passes a game with this Chargers offense to go with their run game, this is really big news for that passing core.
I agree. That's why I dropped QJ. It was because like, oh, he's got promising per route stuff, but he just doesn't run enough routes.
Yeah,
And
they were throwing 20 times a game, and
it was rough.
it's
It was
hard for
rough.
anyone to hit home there. But the volume's higher now. It's a better overall pie that we're looking at.
And Titans, Bengals, Ravens, those are all good matchups.
Yep, I agree.
Especially Bengals and Ravens. They play up tempo. They want to throw the ball. So I think QJ is a great waiver wire pickup. In terms of aggressiveness, I wouldn't get super aggressive. Really, the only players I get really aggressive on the waiver wire right now are rookie wide receivers that are emerging or backup running backs that are clearly going to get the role if the star goes down. Like those are kind of the guys I get aggressive with. In terms of QJ, though, I don't know what, 10, 15% of your fab. Like I was aggressive on at the beginning of the year. Maybe you can go back to being aggressive now, but Lad's still the number one in my opinion. But
yeah, I think, he's the best wide receiver. He's probably the best like wide receiver that I'd go after out of everyone we're going to talk about. So yeah. 10 to 15 is probably pretty fair. If you still have it too.
So I had to twist your arm about Demarcus Robinson. This was not a auto ad. I had to lobby for D-Rob. Owned in 25% of leagues. So when I put him in there, Aidan was like, well, you just got to talk about his touchdown run he's on. And I think that's pretty fair. He gets a lot of his point production from touchdowns. He clearly is their red zone guy. And I just think the reason why I'm advocating for Demarcus Robinson on the waiver wire, one, he's tied to Matthew Stafford, and Matthew Stafford is cooking behind a healthy offensive line. And weirdly enough, he is much better when he's playing with Kupp, Puka, or Kupp and Puka. In particular, he is really solid when he's sharing the field with Cooper Kupp. So Demarcus Robinson, Aidan, became a full-time player in 2023, we'll say around week 13, right? 60% of the snaps against the Cleveland Browns. Since week 13, when he's played with Cooper Kupp, right? So if you see the overlap between Cooper Kupp, it's the end of this season here, weeks 13 to 17. And this season, it's weeks 1 to 8 and 9. When he's playing with Cooper Kupp during this stretch, he's averaging 15.2 fantasy points per game. It's a 9-game sample size. Clearly, he thrives in a specific role. Yep. And when Kupp and Puka are on the lineup, he feasts on bad corners. Like, he's just getting the easiest matchups. He's an excellent red zone threat. He's got some chemistry with Matthew Stafford. Like, it's not a sexy play at all, but you got a guy who scores touchdowns and a good offense. Like, that's why I like him. I think he's a good flex option. I don't think he has this ton of upside, but you could definitely throw him in your lineup for a bye week and feel okay about it, in my opinion.
I agree. And I think like just going back to early this season too, this was the guy that like we were prioritizing when both Kupp and Puka were out. This is a guy they just paid this offseason to extend. This is the guy that's played with Matthew Stafford, like you mentioned. So to your point, it's, it's a very unique role. It's, an awesome offense. He's going to score touchdowns. So I like it. His ceiling is definitely capped with Kupp and Puka in the lineup. I'm curious what his stat line would have been if Puka doesn't get ejected there in the second quarter, pretty early on in the game. But I think he's worth a roster spot. It's like you got to have stones to be starting him right now. But he's absolutely rostering right now.
Desperate.
Or you're desperate. Yeah.
There's a lot of desperation out there, Aidan. Not everyone's
There's a lot of wide receiver
as you are, my friend. Demario, Wan'Dale Robinson Douglas is our third guy we've got here. So my notes, I've got 9 targets in week 10. That's good. That's actually really good. 7 catches. Hell yeah. 10 fantasy points and then 35 yards. He literally hit the Wan'Dale Robinson.
That's bizarre. A disgusting stat line.
Bizarre player. He made an amazing catch in this game. I really don't know what to think about Pop Douglas. All his underlying stuff is pretty solid. He's got an ascending rookie quarterback, but he's on the Patriots. So do with that what you will. I don't know. You get getting aggressive with Pop Douglas, Aidan?
No, it's just the ADOT and like it's just like you are just like really crawling down the field with him. Like it's just like little tiny points along the way. You could do way worse. Like it's not like he's boom or bust, in my opinion. He's going to get you 5 or 10 points, and that's kind of take it or leave it. But the ceiling is really not all that high, in my opinion. So I still think he's absolutely the wide receiver you want in that offense. Hunter Henry is the pass catcher in general that I think is the one. But in terms of wide receivers, I guess it's Bob Douglas, and Drake May probably gets better as the year goes on too. Chicago this week isn't ideal for him passing wise, so I don't know. We'll see. Don't go crazy on Pop, but again, like he should be rostered, and if you're in a pinch, you got some injuries, you can do way worse.
9 targets is 9 targets. It's literally it's Wan'Dale. You got to have him on a roster, unfortunately, but those guys get phased out just like Wan'Dale does. So it's just something to keep in mind. All right, quickly here, we have emerging a really fun rookie wide receiver duo here with the Carolina Panthers. Both of these guys, I think, are worth a pickup. One is probably the pickup of the week if he's on your waiver wire, and that's Xavier Legette. And the second would be Jalen Coker. Shout out my fellow Cokeheads. We didn't have the week we thought we would, but he still looked good when he was on the field. I'll start things here with Xavier Legette. This guy's an immediate plug and play. He's the clear alpha in the offense with DJ in Baltimore. He has really good red zone usage. He was an every route player in week 9. He's cleared 20% targets per route run and target rate in back-to-back weeks. And he has the best celebration in all of football. The dollar bill's one of the more electric things. Like, even the announcers are yelling, "It's dollar bill time."
I think he's good.
It's too good. It's too good. I think he's for sure good.
He 1,000% passes the eye test. So I was kind of going back and forth this week between XL or Coker. I think the social media steam kind of had me having doubts that Coker was the better play, but XL has looked good this year. He gets separation. He's got a lot more reps under his belt. Scored a handful of touchdowns, big body receiver. So
yeah,
I like both of these guys, but XL feels like the guy that I'd rather hitch my wagon to right now in terms of these two young wide receivers.
I agree. I think XL is someone you can play weekly at this point, considering that he ran 93% of the routes, was the clear guy in 2 wide receiver sets. Coker, on the other hand, he's going to still have pretty good per route metrics. Like I said, I actually watched this game, and when Coker got targeted, he looked really good. He was not a focal point of the offensive game plan this week, though. He's basically only in the slot. He's a high ADOT slot player, which is unique, but it's going to limit his upside, especially with Bryce Young, who did play well, by the way. Again, I don't think it's really saying much playing well against the Saints.
Professional football games, yeah.
But he looked. It was interesting. The offense looked functional. They won the game with him, so shout out.
Yeah, the feet were a lot more quiet. He made some throws. It's encouraging. There could be starting fantasy options in that offense again, which is cool.
So if you see Coker in week 7, 59%, week 8, 80%, week 9, 59%, they ran a lot of 2 tight end sets. It was a big Jatavian Sanders game. So he wasn't on the field. Now, I do think as this season progresses, Coker is playing well enough to where he can earn more snaps and more usage. If there are any injuries, he's going to continue to play more. I do think, though, if Adam Thielen remains a Panther, Coker is going to be droppable because I think there's going to be that overlap in the slot. So unless Coker gets moved outside or moves to flanker with Adam Thielen back, it's rough watching who's the other, David Moore and Jonathan Mingo run routes over Jalen Coker. I don't think that should happen. David Moore was the other full-time receiver, 93% of the snaps. So we'll see. Coker's more of a stash. I think we got our head of ourselves a little bit. Yeah. He's showing promise, but this is a stash play, whereas Legette, I think, is honestly, we could throw him on the thumbnail. I think Legette's the pickup.
I started XL in the league last week.
Me too.
It was good. Yeah, I think we just got ahead of ourselves. A lot of the production the game prior was kind of in garbage time closing out, and I think we kind of just got a little excited. So still worth being on rosters. Probably is he's just not a full-time player yet, which makes it really hard if you're not a deep play merchant to be trusted in fantasy formats.
All right, so I got 2 guys here that I think could be good bye week injury fill-ins. This one is Mcleod, managed in 17% of leagues. If Drake London plays, do not play Ray Mcleod. But if Drake London sits, this guy runs 90% of the routes. They're an explosive offense, and they're playing a dog shit Saints defense. So I honestly think he's totally fine to stream if you're desperate in terms of Ray. The second one would be Noah Brown. I think Noah Brown has a little bit more staying power. He's a full-time player. This offense is great. He has really strong underlying usage. He had a 32% target share in week 9, and he had a 40% first read target share in week 9. So plays Pittsburgh in week 10. I think Noah Brown's a pretty solid pickup. We've seen last year Noah Brown put together some super random strong weeks out of nowhere. So this guy's like,
he can play. Last year,
he can play.
He's the wide receiver too, though. He's definitely the wide receiver too, though.
And sometimes he's the third option behind Zach Ertz, depending what the game plan is.
It's just great, man. It's like we said, like you want full-time players, like you want more routes, you want more chances to make fantasy plays, and Noah Brown is on the field consistently in that offense. So yeah, this is a great bye week fill-in guy here.
Yeah, I think I really like Ray this week if Drake doesn't play, but Noah Brown has more staying power throughout the season, in my opinion. All right, you want to talk running backs, dude?
Let's do it. Yeah, there's one
all
fun
handcuffs.
Here.
It's all handcuffs.
Estime is a fun one though. I think we thought Estime would happen earlier, but we've got happening still.
We've got Audric Estime here, running back for the Denver Broncos, out of Notre Dame, rookie, 21 years old. Aidan and I won't speak too much for Aidan. I'd say you liked him. I really liked him coming out of college.
Yeah, you were higher on him than I was. But
he's a tackle breaker, but he's slow. He's actually, every time he's touched the ball, he's done well. Like look at all his yards per carry stuff. He's averaging 7 yards per pop right now. 15 carries, 95 yards. So he clearly has some juice, but he does have one big flaw, and is that he's how many times he's fumbled twice. He's fumbled twice on 15 attempts, which is not a good way to get in Sean Payton's good graces. So here we are though. So there was a report that came out before the game that said, hey, they're going to get Audric Estime more involved. He only played 10% of the snaps, 5 for 35. So it wasn't a great pregame report. It's not like the Elijah Mitchell pregame report where he was the starter. Peyton already came out this week and said he could get him more involved. I listened to the Coach Speak Index, and it was like a reporter asking, do you think you can get Audric Estime more involved? And he basically was like, I think that's a good question. And I think, yes, I think I will. I think it's fair to say I will. So take that with a grain of salt, guys.
I will. Okay.
I don't know what that fucking means, but he has a history of saying these things and not actually doing them, looking at you, Marvin Mims, but Estime's averaging 6.33 yards per carry. He's got a fumbling issue. If he cleans that up, Javonte hasn't been very good. Javonte had that big spike week, but
a lot of we kind of like the pass catching game. He had a long catch last week. Man
averaged 2.6 yards per carry against the Panthers.
I just don't think he's that good. I've never liked Javonte, so I'd love for Estime to get some more touches. Javonte probably isn't on the Broncos next year. Why not get touches to your rookie running back? Like you mentioned, he's not all that fast, but he was uber productive in college. The dude is just fun to watch. 5 carries, 35 yards last week. That's encouraging. The dude's a bit of a bulldozer. So absolute stash play here. Don't go starting Estime yet.
No, but again, all you need is a chance for Estime. He's a pretty strong tackle breaker, and those are usually good signs. Bucky was an excellent tackle breaker, and all we needed Bucky was to get the opportunity.
Yep.
Very, very similar for Estime, in my opinion. Ray Davis. This is another guy you loved.
He's fun. Yeah, I love.
You love Ray Davis. So he's the running back 3 in this offense. Don't get it twisted, guys. This is a very misleading 17 points because 4 for 20, 2 for 70, and a tutty. And that was some of the worst tackling I've seen ever. That house call, I have no idea what the Dolphins were doing. If you look at his usage, he's running behind Tyler Johnson. So Tyler Johnson, 30% of the snaps. Ray Davis, 14. James Cook, 54. I just personally believe that if James Cook were to miss time, because we already saw it, Davis is probably the best handcuff.
I think Davis goes
fantasy.
Nuts. Yeah, I think Davis goes nuts.
Ray Davis is really good. He's not like your prototypical rookie because he's 25 years old. So it's not like he's got.
It's
a grown man. He's a grown man out there. And he's playing one of the best offenses in football. And we've already seen him do it when he was the sole guy against the Jets. He went 20 for 97, 3 for 55. So we've already seen it. So Davis is really good as a receiver. He scores touchdowns. Like he's already got 3 on the year in limited run. So I just think that if Davis is out there, you're probably not playing him. But if you're playing the one injury away game, I think Davis is probably at the top of the list based off what I've seen so far this year.
Yeah, I agree. The only bummer with the running backs in this offense is like Josh Allen's always looming, always watching over, but he's looked really good in his action this year. So yeah, James Cook goes down, and that's a gold mine.
This one is not sexy at all. Justice Hill owned in 23% of leagues. He's game script dependent, but if it's the 2-minute drill or 3-minute drill, he's out there.
He looks good too.
He does. I mean, the guy has how many targets? He's got 28 targets, 272 receiving yards, 2 passing touchdowns. I mean, 2 receiving touchdowns. He's got 32 carries. Like, it's not great. If Derrick Henry gets hurt, Justice Hill's not his direct 1-1 replacement. Keaton Mitchell's lurking. Like, this isn't a fun one, but this is somebody that you could actually play in a pinch, and it's not the end of the world. Like, it's not much upside.
PPR upside with him, at least. Like, you know he's going to catch a couple balls a game. Like, I don't think you're going to get a 0 out of him. You're probably not looking at like a monster game, but if you get 5 or 10 points because he catches a couple screens, then there's worse options. But like all these running backs we're going to talk about today are like cuffs, stashes. There's no starting running backs on the waiver wire in week 10. I regret to inform you.
No, it's bleak. I'd say Estime is still my favorite. Yep. Based off of, I just don't think Javonte is very good.
No.
This one's shocking. I cannot believe we're back. But we're back with Cam Akers, who completely iced Ty Chandler. So Ty Chandler, goodbye, brother. You got sent to the shadow realm because Cam Akers completely took over that backup role behind Aaron Jones in week 9. 6 carries, 46 yards, 2 catches, 7 points. 7 yards, 7.3 fantasy points. He looked pretty good, dude.
He actually did look good. Yeah, it's like I just don't know how much he's going to play behind AJ, but like you mentioned, he's definitely the RB2 in that offense now. At least after this last week, it would appear that way. Ty Chandler barely saw the football field.
I got a bone to pick with Ty Chandler. He looked like the next coming of Barry Sanders against the 49ers in week 2. And then he's now like he's inactive.
He's like borderline.
What's going on here? Yeah, what's going on here with Ty Chandler? He looked so good last year when he got the role. So I don't know, but Akers 23% of the snaps, 19% of the rush attempts, 23% of the routes, 22% targets per route run. I mean, these are all really good check the box metrics for a backup running back. So,
yeah, I agree with that.
But
Aaron Jones does have a history of getting hurt as well. So out of all the people that I think these people are backing up to, Aaron Jones has probably the longest history of injuries too, just to kind of add to the I guess Javonte had the big injury, but in terms of like recurring soft tissue type stuff, Aaron Jones has done that plenty. Yeah,
Aaron Jones is no stranger to the Wednesday DMP. That is something he's very comfortable with. Moving on to tight ends, Mike Gesicki.
He is
Mike Gesicki. The splits with and without T. Higgins are crazy, Aidan. So without T. Higgins, Mike Gesicki is averaging 15 points per game with a 20% target rate. Pretty easy to see which of the games without Higgins. If you want to see it.
Very simple.
With T. Higgins, he is averaging 3.75 fantasy points per game at a 5% target rate.
He's so fun to watch. I love watching Mike Gesicki run with the football, dude. He's just so tall and lanky. He's good.
It's hilarious.
He hates blocking. He has zero interest in blocking, but dude's an awesome pass catcher.
Do you know who likes Mike Gesicki?
Joe Burrow likes
Joe Burrow really likes Mike Gesicki.
Joe Burrow likes Mike Gesicki.
The quotes after the game were bullish. And I don't know how injured T. Higgins is. Like, is he just doing this because he feels something in his quad and he's like, I will not risk hurting myself and putting bad tape out there at all for my contract? It's hard to get a read on what it is, right?
They still might trade him. Like, probably not. Probably not after this win, given the trade deadline's this week, if I'm not mistaken, correct? When's the trade? I thought it was this NFL. Because I'm like, you probably can't do it. What's the fucking date?
He gets floated a lot. It would make sense. Let me see the NFL trade deadline.
It's Tuesday.
Is it really election day? Or is it next Tuesday?
I got November 5th.
Wow, that's fun.
That's fun.
Higgins, Thielen are guys that potentially could get traded. I don't know.
Thielen should get moved for sure. I don't think the Bengals aren't out of it. Like, they could run the table still. And you just got to get in with Joe Burrow. He's playing as good at football as he's played before. So
yeah, he's lights out.
No, I don't think you trade him.
I think you go pick up Mike Gesicki. Don't get super aggressive. If T. Higgins doesn't play, though, like, this guy's a wide receiver.
For sure. Yeah, he's their second option.
He's the wide receiver. Like, so take that with a grain of salt, but
yeah, it's definitely not Jermaine Burton. He won't be playing anytime soon.
Well, he'll be playing the slots.
Yeah. Your local casino.
I can't believe that happened. But yeah, I'd go pick up Gesicki. We've seen him put together really strong stretches before in his career. Oh, baby. All roads lead back to Taysom Hill.
He's inevitable.
It's the Will Smith meme, where he's like in the living room and it's just vacant. Like, Olave's gone, most likely. Shaheed's done. Dennis Allen's fired, which is rough. Maybe Taysom doesn't play now because Dennis Allen's not in the building, but I doubt it. Coaches love Taysom Hill. Not only is Taysom going to continue to get the running back red zone touches that he gets with Kenji Miller out and Jamal Williams hurt, he's now like a legit part of their receiving game. They need him to
become a focal point for crying out loud.
Oh man, this team is such a joke.
I think it's worth noting too. These are actually the same two tight ends we flagged last week, and they both kind of went nuts. But neither one of them are still that owned. I'm looking 20% for Gesicki, 31% for Taysom. Like, go get these guys. Their roles are increasing, and tight end is such an awful position. Taysom's the cheat code too. He's barely a tight end.
Taysom Hill, 47% of the routes, but he had a 31% targets per route run, a 20% of the targets on half the routes is crazy. And then he's like their tight, and then he's like their backup running back, wildcat running back, like another guy that you could probably play in the flex because he's not necessarily a traditional tight end. But if he's getting 4 targets per game plus all of his bullshit red zone usage, like it's pretty good. That's kind of like when I highlighted him as a sleeper earlier in the year, that's kind of what I was imagining was this week against Carolina. He's got Atlanta and Cleveland coming up. You could do worse than Taysom.
I agree. Yeah, these are. It's funny too because we actually harped on these guys a ton in best ball because they're just like 2 super exciting options in best ball. So hopefully some of you guys scoop them up in there too. God, he looks so young. Holy hell.
We've got Jatavian Sanders, the rookie, 21 years old, man, 6'4". This guy's huge.
He's a monster,
big man, and he's not very fast. Jatavian Sanders is not a quick guy, but he is the rookie tight end here on the Panthers. He's quietly having a strong rookie tight end season in terms of raw production and usage. So if you look and pull up his per game numbers, he's tracking towards around a 500-yard receiving season, which is pretty impressive for a rookie tight end.
In an offense that has been a dumpster fire for the most part, too.
We like year 2 tight ends. I'm a big fan. Anytime you're starting to see this production, especially considering that there's just not as much target competition, like this receiving core is literally all rookies. All rookies. They're gonna bring out Jon Brooks, and it's gonna be Jon Brooks, Jatavian Sanders, Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette. It's a young team right now.
Which is fun.
Yeah, it is fun. That's honestly what they should be doing. if you look at his per route stuff, it's good. 70%. He's clearing 70% route participation. He's had 20% targets per route run in 4 out of the last 6 games. I'm not going to get super juiced starting him. He kind of felt game script dependent. They wanted to go 2 tight ends, and he was a big benefit of that. But, man, you just got to kind of call him out. JT Sanders having a pretty good start to his career here for the Carolina Panthers.
They drafted him decently high, too, didn't they? Like, he's...
I think he was a 4th-round pick. He fell. He was really slow at the combine. Usually, these tight ends, they want them quick. And he was slow as hell. But he hurdled a guy, I think, right? Didn't he have a hurdle and he went for 50 yards?
Yeah, he was
he's
the
huge.
101st pick. Is that the 3rd round? No,
I think he was the 4th round.
The first pick of the 4th round. So he was the first pick. Yeah. This was a guy that was really productive at Texas too. Played, like legit college football, big program. So no, good shout here. That I was a little surprised by the stats just looking at it, like the last 4 weeks. 49 yards, 61 yards. Amid Denver,
87.
that was a tough game for them. And then 87, like that's a huge game for a tight end, like let alone a rookie. So good one here to keep an eye on as, this offense continues to lean on their young guys going into 2025.
All right, 2 quarterbacks here. I'm contractually obligated, and he's not one of them, but Drake fucking May, baby. Drake fucking May. All right. I love him. Oh, he's so good. Okay, you should go pick him up though if he's available in leagues. I've got 2 veterans here though outside of Drake May that I do want to call out. I've got Matthew Stafford. He's just a different dude, man. When his offensive line's good and he's got his weapons, he's not necessarily one of those guys that's gonna like at this point in his career put up huge stats if the infrastructure isn't in place. Like he's not gonna scramble around and make shit happen. But man, when it's all there, the guy's gonna throw 2+ touchdowns a week.
He's just a gamer. Like we throw that word around a lot, but yeah, Matthew Stafford's a gamer, dude. Looked awesome. Yeah, 300 yards, 2 tutties. Puka was out most of the game. You've got Miami next week, who's been fine. New England's been fine. It's. I wouldn't say he's got the toughest matchups coming up, and yeah, the Rams are trending up for sure. This is a team that is, they're not out of it by any means. I think they're tied 1 game.
They're
off
tied.
Of the,
they're 1 game behind the Cardinals.
The NFC West is anyone.
It's a shit show right now with the Niners.
So
Miami
here on Stafford.
Miami, New England, Philadelphia, New Orleans. That's a stretch, man. If you got Rams players, that's a fun stretch to see some points. No, talk about another gamer here. Tua's a maniac, by the way. That guy's fucking insane.
Tua's what we call a stupid gamer, man. This is a stupid gamer.
Dumb gamer. Tua's fucking crazy, dude. I cannot believe that he did that again. What? I swear Damar Hamlin didn't want to hit him. He was like, I can't hit this guy when he was running for the first down.
He went head first on that 4th down. And then he had another one later that drive along that sideline up top on the left side where he was just going for it. I'm like, dude, you got to stop, man. Like, they don't want to kill you, but like,
they will.
Like
it's the NFL. They will. They will. Regardless, though, Tua looked pretty damn good, all things considered. Didn't have a huge day. He hasn't had any big blow-up games yet. I think those are coming. The Rams just got absolutely eviscerated by JSN, and the Tyreek Hill explosion. It's a coming.
It's coming. The second half, they were starting to figure it out a little bit. Slow first half got going. Game against that's going to be a fun game against the Rams. That's going to be another high-scoring game, I think.
My theory is that that Tua is such a get the ball out quick quarterback, and they've now just have 2 amazing screen catchers in Achane and Jonnu Smith. So it's just Tua's like, fuck yeah, I'm getting the ball out. It's like 6-7 yards every time to these guys, to like the detriment of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I think they have a get right spot here. Buffalo has really contained Tyreek Hill in his career. The Rams, they don't have the personnel in terms of the cornerbacks. I do worry about the pass rush because the Rams have a ferocious pass rush. But man, I could easily see a huge Tyreek explosion spot here against the Rams. I think he's got a good spot here against the Raiders. You can throw on the Patriots. You can throw on the Packers. You can throw on the Jets. there are a lot of good matchups here for Tua. So I feel really good about Tua as somebody you can pick up and start for a couple weeks here. And as someone you can trust, considering what he's done before in the past. Tua, Stafford, and then, again, I'm contractually obligated. I'm going to sneak a 16th in. That's my guy, Drake May. 95 rushing yards.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
what
a
a
good
stud.
Man.
What a stud. Good. What a stud. I do just genuinely worry about that offense. So it's hard for me to get super excited to recommend Drake May because that offense stinks, dude. But Drake May is going to give you a really nice floor because of how much he rushes. I mean, he scored 11 points in 30% of the snaps in week 8. So got to feel good about May, but I feel really good about Stafford and Tua as 2 streaming options here at quarterback for the rest of the season.
Yep. No, these are both good shots.
All right, Aidan, we went through 15 guys, 15 plus. We had a bonus one with Drake, man. Anyone you think anyone you think I missed? Anyone like you should just go take a look at?
No. I've got to assume some people are going to stream the Buccaneers guys tonight.
Raheem Jarrett, baby.
Yeah, maybe something happens with the Chiefs tonight and like a wide receiver kind of emerges, but like I don't know, it's Worthy and Hopkins, so probably not. But no, this is a good list. It's hard to strike gold this late. That's why we stress spending your fab early. So hopefully these are just guys kind of filling on buys or short injuries for you.
This is especially a tough spot in the season because every team still thinks they're in it. The gold mine happens where like they start shutting guys down, and it's like this third string running back is going to get some serious run this week, and It's like, okay, here we go. Let's go. This is a big week for him, right? Like this is no man's land with running back. It's absolutely brutal. There's no help coming. There's just Julius Chestnuts. That's all it is, man.
That's up.
All right. Thank you everybody for tuning in. When you're watching this later this evening, Xavier Worthy's going to have his 3 touchdown game. That's going to happen. So I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Bingo.
You're going down, Spence. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Until next time.